Welcome to a football show, Overreaction Monday here, live from the pharmacy, of course, in East Nashville, the burger parlor and beer garden of choice after a loss and drowning your sorrows. Unless, of course, you're a Tennessee Volunteers fan, in which case you are celebrating with a nice Bearded Iris Pharmacy Pills, locally sourced beer here, of course, at the pharmacy. We're also brought to you as well by the Kingston Group, as well as Weiss Liquors. We'll get to all those great sponsors. Zach, how are you, sir? My name's Braden. That's Zach. We are much like going to Jeff Swaim on third downs. We are running some backups here today on the show.
There is a good chance that nobody heard any of that because we're using your camera, my microphone, because we've had technical issues as well. No, we're good.
We're good.
Okay, they all heard us.
We were so good on our first run, and then we got into the game, and the Giants beat our ass, and that's what happened. Listen, we were so good on Thursday. We were a first-half Titans offense, so we've got a lot of stuff to discuss today, of course, on the show. If you want to jump into the comment section, of course, please do that. We've got a lot of things. If you guys want to chime in, we would like to hear from you because there's certainly a lot to discuss about that Titans match against the Giants on Sunday. We've got some SEC stuff to get to, which is some good news for you Kentucky fans, Arkansas fans, and yes, Texas fans, Alabama fans. Look, we've got some food here.
All right.
Showing up. We got some sweet potato fries there. Take a look at that, of course, here at the pharmacy beer garden. They got a soda rail as well, but you see all this out here. All this beautiful, amazing stuff back here. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful day on Monday.
It is. It is almost hoodie and shorts weather.
I need another 15 degrees
I
or
think
so.
I could have done it in probably like 7 more degrees.
This morning we could have 58 degrees this morning.
It was feeling great this morning.
So we have major questions to ask about the Titans offensive play calling. We have major questions to ask about the sloppiness of the second half of that game. I had a very difficult time. And I'm just teasing what's coming up on the show because we got a lot of stuff to do today. I had a very difficult time pinpointing exactly what to blame, how to blame it, how much to blame it. I got questions about Derrick Henry in the running game I want to ask you as well. Before we do any of that, of course, let's make sure we thank all of our amazing sponsors here. We got Weiss Liquors. Look, there's Weiss Liquors right there, of course. I'm assuming many of you needed to drink after the game on Sunday. So if you Uber Eats Weiss Liquors right to your house, search Weiss Liquors right there on Uber Eats, comes right to your house. If you want, you can do that. You can also pop in after the game and get 10% off, $4.40. If you say $4.40 at the cash register, they'll give you 10% off. Kingston Group, of course. If you broke some shit at your house yesterday and you need to fix it, check out the Kingston Group.
Basically, if you took a sledgehammer to your entire kitchen, which I wouldn't really blame you, then you probably need to call the Kingston Group.
No, demo day is always my favorite part of the the home renovation show.
Yeah.
My favorite part is demo day. That's always the thing I want to do. I never get to do it, though. My wife never lets me. And I'm assuming Titans fans have.
Why is that?
Well, probably because she likes her house the way it is.
But you're demoing it.
Well, but we're not. That's what I'm saying. I just want to demo.
Gotcha.
Don't they have those houses around?
Yeah, they have one of those actually in East Nashville, I think, or maybe even by the river, where you go in and you destroy everything.
That sounds wonderful. I'm assuming that's what Mike Vrabel did after calmly addressing the media after the game. And, of course, we're here at the pharmacy. So come on out every single Monday. We're going to react and next week preview the Bills game. So make sure you come on out here and eat lunch. They got burgers. They got wurst. They got sweet potato fries. They got all kinds of stuff. Milkshakes, locally sourced beer from Bearded Iris. The pharmacy pills is delicious. So there you go. All right. I just broad questions, Zach, for you in –
and by the way,
in reacting.
Real quick, before we get anywhere,
okay.
For those not watching or whatever, or listening, and you're listening, and you normally watch, and you're wondering, where did the feed go? If you did not turn notifications on for 440 Sports on Twitter, like we told you, and for YouTube, like we told you, then you're not going to see it because we're only going to be on the Broadway Facebook feed just to try to consolidate our viewer experience. And let's be honest, it's really for us because we're lazy and we're having to go to 5 different accounts to get data. So it's just really for us. So you got to make sure if you're listening, you're wondering, why didn't I catch this live? Why didn't my phone go off? Your phone's not broken. You probably did not listen to me when I told you all the accounts and places that you need to turn your notifications on.
There you have it. So, again, on the 440 Sports Twitter feed, the 440 Facebook page, the Broadway Sports Facebook page, and YouTube page as well. Make sure you turn all those notifications on. And, again, you can also get this show podcasted in podcast form, a football show, of course, each and every Monday and Thursday. Just broadly, Zach, just as generically and as broadly as possible, what happened? Who do you blame for the second half? What was the thing that went wrong if you had to put it onto one
Why
thing?
is it only limited to the second half?
Well, there's a lot of problems because there's a lot of problems from a lot of different places. I just want to get the like, where are you putting the majority of the issues? Where's the number one thing?
The staff, easy. Hands down, the staff. I mean, it's not really, I mean, there's nothing you can blame on Ryan Tannehill. He had an efficient game. He had a great game. There's nothing there's a lot to blame on the defense that I think a lot of people are giving them an easy out lately on this because they're so mad at the hashtag Fire Todd Downey movement. So in my opinion, the main culprit for me is the staff.
All right, so I understand we're going to have a lot of conversation about Todd Downing. We're going to have a lot of conversation about however many third and shorts we don't like. I understand that.
Basically, Braden, everything that I said over the offseason about what they need to do to improve this offense, take the team to the next level, they basically just took it, put it in a dumpster, lit it on fire.
I have here's what I want to be clear on. I have major issues with the play calling on third and short. I know you have major issues with play calling on first down.
Well, yeah, but look at third and short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 failed third down conversions, and 7 of them were 5 yards or less, which is abnormal for this team.
Yeah, they're very good in this situation.
They're normally great in this situation. So, one of the NFL's best on third and short. So obviously, there's a first off. Later on in the show, we're getting into Week 1 lie detectors, right? We're going to talk about the lie detectors of Week 1 in the NFL. I'm going to give you
what's real, what's not.
Yeah. That's not real to me.
No, it's not, because traditionally this is one of the best teams in third and short.
But that's the reason they failed.
I agree.
One of the many
and I think you need to. So, to me, when I tried to boil it down into one reason why this team is now behind the Colts and the Texans because of their tie, was because of mistakes. Now, I could say that's Todd Downing making mistakes. I could also say it's Derrick Henry dropping a pass in the Wildcat. I could say that's Taylor Lewan missing a block on the Chigakonkwu end around.
But when there's 3 defenders over there, what's that one block really going to do?
I'm not saying I like the call. I'm just saying there was garbage execution as well.
I mean, only Taylor Lewan can only block so many defenders, and when nobody on the defense is fooled by it.
Just pick one, though, Taylor.
Yeah, hey, I do agree with that. Just pick one. Don't block him into Chig in the back of his legs.
You cannot allow 9 yards to carry to one of the best running backs in the NFL when it's not even complicated stuff. It is draw play, off tackle, draw play, missed tackles, double digits, according to
I thought
Mike
Shane
Vrabel.
Bowen got a lot of scapegoatability yesterday.
Meaning he didn't get
because Todd, he did not get
blamed enough. Yes, I think the defense running the football, the rushing defense was one of the biggest issues in that game. You cannot give up explosive plays. You cannot give up 60-yard run, 60-yard pass, and expect
it was
to
bad
win.
all
You can't
game.
do it.
It wasn't just bad after Saquon Barkley broke that big, long 50-yard run. If you go back and look, because I did this morning. See, that's my thing, is that normally when I go back and watch the Titans game, I come away a little bit calmer. Now, what was weird...
He texted me in the middle of watching it. It was not calm.
Yeah. What's weird is that last night, or after the game, I was pretty calm. It's like, okay, well, the Titans they didn't win. I said they would probably play a close game, and, that's just what Mike Vrabel does, which is a whole nother philosophical discussion we're going to get into today. And they lost, and I put out a tweet. It's the kind of game, it sucks they lost, but it's the kind of game that next week they're going to beat the Bills by, double digits, and everybody's going to forget about this game.
See, I will push back on the explosive play defense in the first half, because the first half, the defense...
Now I'm not saying they were explosive plays.
Okay.
So let me get to what I'm saying.
All right.
But if you go back and watch if you go back and watch the game, they were giving up chunk yardage run plays in the second quarter, and that's when I was like, because I only got to listen to the second quarter. And so when I started watching, I'm like, oh, now I see why they decided to stick with the run.
Yeah. Because
it was working in the second quarter early, and they were getting chunk plays. And I knew, you could tell that it's kind of like when Henry's getting those chunk plays, and you're like, okay, Henry's going to be breaking one off soon. That's what you can say
see
exactly about
building.
Barkley.
You can see it building. Yeah. No, I don't necessarily disagree with that. But it was 13-0, and there are some questions we can have about how the Titans played in the first half on offense, finishing drives. That is absolutely a question. But I wrote down a bunch of things like, here, where did we, what went wrong? And to me, it was sloppy. That's it. I can't. It's sloppy play calling. It was sloppy blocking. It was sloppy sometimes on Derrick Henry's part.
It's a lot like the Alabama-Texas game.
Very, very much.
Questionable play calling here and there, and it didn't seem like all 22 players that needed to come play came to play.
That being said, and Donovan's asking us about live on YouTube. We're live on the we are live on the 440 Sports YouTube page, so make sure you check that out.
We are live on the 440 Sports YouTube.
There you have it. And again, if you want to chime in, George says don't discriminate. Their personnel selection is as bad as their play calling. I actually disagree with some of that. We'll get to that in a little while because
we're probably going to fight. They might as well call the ambulance because there could be bottles flying. We got glass.
Yeah, we don't want to break things here. At the pharmacy, this wonderful, beautiful garden where there's look at all these wonderful folks hanging out back here.
Sway, can I take a glass?
No, I don't want to promote. Just calm down. Okay. Calm down. Because I disagree with. So Rexroad wrote a big story about this, and I disagree with Rexroad.
I haven't got to it, but I saw some clips.
I disagree with Rexroad as well. Like this was a football game that they should have won, where they were the better team and they made mistakes. This has nothing to do with the Isaiah Wilson draft pick, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
It has nothing to do with the decision-making this organization has had over the last 2 years.
Fully agree.
Their rookies were awesome on Sunday. The quarterback was really solid on Sunday. The offensive line. Now, to be fair.
It's how they use the other players that aren't awesome on the roster. And I think that's what George is getting
That's fair. The unawesome players were not deployed properly, a.k.a. not on the field. So, to me, it's this combination. Again, you still were in a position to win it with a field goal. You still the pass pro was great. Now, to be fair, this was a bad Giants team without their two best pass rushers. So let's be clear on the protection, but it was good. The rookies
there were some interesting things I don't know if anybody caught about the Giants pass rush on a couple of plays. They loaded up the left side and not the right side, which I thought was super interesting.
Oh, when they were attacking.
When they were wanting to attack, they loaded up the left side. So they, for whatever reason, did not want to attack a rookie right tackle and Nate Davis, who hadn't played a snap almost all offseason.
Who Davis, I believe, graded out as the number one offensive player.
Line. And listen, Nicholas Petit-Ferrer was, I think, number 2 in very good.
All right, so should we organize the good and the bad here? Because I think there's some good. There's some good.
Let's start. You want to start positive?
Let's start positive because then
positive. The rookie class.
Rookies were fantastic. You had a starting right tackle. Roger McCreary played almost every single snap. Kyle Phillips led the team.
Can I say about Roger McCreary real quick that I never noticed before?
Go for it.
Are you an NBA Jam or an NBA Showtime
Jam.
Okay, so NBA Jam, NBA Showtime for other people, and if you play other NBA 2K, I can't help you. He looks like a player where you put in a code and it shrinks the player. Like, okay, Scott Skiles from the Orlando Magic. Remember how small he was?
The uniform looks bigger.
Yeah, you remember how small he was compared to everybody else in the original NBA Jam?
True.
That is the one thing I noticed about Roger McCreary, and I think that leads credence to what Mike Vrabel said. Roger McCreary played great. Leads credence to what he said about not wanting to put Roger McCreary in the slot on first and second down because he's afraid he's going to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, and listen, we're going to get to Dylan Cole at the end of the game.
5 snaps and 2
we're going to get to getting lost in the shuffle with Dylan Cole at the end of the game. But the rookies were really, really good. We got to talk first about the rookies, and even Vrabel said it today in his press conference on Monday. We got more production out of our rookies than we've had in a long time.
This game has affected me so much, I'm almost done.
Yeah, just take it easy, man. We can't run out of tempo in the first quarter here. But you have a starting right tackle, a starting corner. The 2 top targets on offense were rookie wide receivers, Kyle Phillips and Treylon Burks, who both made plays.
And Dontrell Hilliard, who was great, who didn't get enough snaps, 11 snaps, atrocious.
I'm not sure if he counts as a rookie, but
I'm just saying. I'm trying to go with the good.
Chig made
got a lot of energy flowing right now.
Chig should have been used a little bit more. We can have that discussion, which we're going to do. But Chig made a play. He made one. The jet sweep wasn't really his fault. Jeffrey Simmons is a absolute monster who's going to make a fortune, and I'm glad I have him on my fantasy team.
And here's what I said about Jeffrey Simmons during the game. He looked a lot better in his first game than the beast of the Bay, Aaron Donald.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Amani Hooker made play after play after play because he's always in the
run game. Little question.
True, but I thought he was pretty solid. The pass pro we've already talked about being pretty solid. And then Ryan Tannehill, we got to talk about Ryan Tannehill just having a solid game. Again, he had time to throw. I think, and this – I don't want to pivot into Todd Downing yet because we're going to spend some time on Todd Downing. But the way that Brian Daboll used Daniel Jones and his legs and his misdirection is, I think, the one place I would have liked to have seen more of Tannehill.
That's been the big thing going on lately. Is a lot of requests is to use Tanner Wheels more. I do agree with that. And I don't have a problem with that because especially when your run game is stifling a little bit, it's good to maybe do something that gets people away from maybe Derrick Henry being the run threat and all that kind of stuff. I think when you look at it as well, Braden, about Tannehill's specific game, we talked about it. He was phenomenal in first downs. when passing the ball.
Especially
They
the long
only
touchdown
did.
drive in the second
Yeah.
half, where they threw the ball 3 times on first down, and all of them were effective.
And they did a lot of play action, 37.3, and he was great in play action. But 11 plays on first down were for pass plays out of probably 32 or 33. I couldn't find a specific number of run plays, but let's say 32 or 33. Just 11, and he was doing 14 air yards. Not only was he number one in air yards in the NFL so far, barring Monday night's game, but he was also number one in efficiency on first down. And all passing downs, he was number 4 in efficiency. So efficient Ryan Tannehill was back for at least game 1. Great sign. And here's something else. I saw the Tim Kelly effect in 4 different ways.
Oh, 4 different ways?
Pre-snap motion was way up.
Okay.
So that is something I talked about that helps this team. I talked about in the solo pod a couple weeks ago. Pre-snap motion was way up this game. You saw it on almost every play. Pass run, doesn't matter. Pre-snap motion was a big effect.
You are fired up today.
Right, I am. Route spacing. I thought their route spacing on even plays that fell incomplete, I thought the route spacing was really good. Tim Kelly effect. Deeper ran routes, and they were ran quicker. They weren't long developing routes. They were just long routes.
Okay.
And I think that they ran 37.3% of play action plays. That was the 4th most play action percentage of the Downing era. So I think that that is a good sign. It's a good sign going forward. I will say this. He had 2 negative decisions all game, I thought. And he had 2 bad throws. So he had 2 negative decisions, 2 bad throws. But he had 4 drops as well.
9% of his passes were dropped, which is not good.
So I look at it this way. The 2 negative decisions, he just missed NWI open. NWI in front of Burks in that end zone pass, whatever Burks said. In the field of vision, wide open. On 3rd down, you should take the 1st down.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other one was the Kyle Phillips stopped his route. So it's kind of on Kyle Phillips, but it's also on Ryan Tannehill. He stopped his route. He should have gone over Kyle Phillips to NWI, who was, again, open on a crosser. So negative decisions. I wouldn't necessarily say they're bad negative decisions, but
I don't know. So the one observation I would make, and this is mostly about the second half with Tannehill, and I don't know specifically if this is on Tannehill, because Vrabel talked on Monday at his press conference about sort of, if receivers are open, it's not their fault. If the play is designed to go left and then all of a sudden it takes time to get back to the right, and there's not time to do that sometimes. But there was a lot of ISO man-to-man in the 4th quarter by the Giants defense against Burks and against Woods. And it felt like Tannehill didn't even look at it pre-snap. So again, maybe that's the way it was designed. Maybe that's not what they wanted him to do, and maybe that's fine. But I literally said it over and over again in the press box, and people are like, it's like they don't even care that Treylon Burks is out there wide in man-to-man coverage with a rolled-up corner, and they're not even looking at him. And it happened a bunch of different times.
And they let him run, he was only out there for 22 snaps, which is another egregious error by
and Vrabel did say that he had some more, I don't want to say, it's not insults, it's critiques of Treylon Burks finishing routes down the field, going getting the ball. He had a little bit more finisher running after the catch, although I think he had 11 yards per reception, yards after catch, among the best in the NFL.
He ended up with 33 yards or something like that.
Here's what I would say to wrap up the good. You made mistake after mistake after mistake in special teams on 3rd down, on run defense, down the line, and you missed a fairly normally makeable field goal to win the game. You shouldn't. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
It's like a 70% makeable field goal.
Should have won the game.
And it could have been made if the Titans, if we want to get into the bad or the ugly, whatever you want to call it.
Let's go bad first and then get to the ugly.
The bad, I guess I would say,
because I'm including I'm wrapping up the good by saying, even with all the bad we're about to talk about, they put themselves in a position to win. They dominated the first half. They were clearly the better team. It was sloppy. It's week 1. They all count, but this team will be better. And they're going to be better next week, even if they get beat by the Bills.
I'll say the bad is stuff that will be corrected that I think are out of the norm. And I think one of those we touched on was the failed 3rd down conversions. I think that's abnormal. I think Derrick Henry and the way he looked is normal for Derrick Henry in September, but abnormal for the rest of the season. And it's not. I have no concern about Derrick Henry.
All right, so maybe I should ask you this Henry stuff then before we get to the bad, because I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's in the middle, and I'm just curious. I don't know what it is, and that's what I want to ask. He's bigger. Mm-hmm. I stood next to him at camp, all camp. He's bigger. Now, is it a combination of week 1, new offensive line, the way the Giants were playing the rushing game, he looked more hesitant. He looked a half a step slower, less decisive. I'm not sure any of that's necessarily his fault, but he did look bigger and less quick twitchy, if that's a thing to me in person. That's the way he looked from the press box. And I'm not the only one who noticed that. The whole thing just looked a little bit slower. The run blocking, the reading, the cut and go, Henry, it needs time. It's just week one. You mentioned how he normally looks in September. Just what did you see from him? And did you see that one half a beat slow like I did?
I think what I saw was only being able to play one game over a span of 11 months.
I mean
that'll
do it.
I think that I don't think that Henry is any less athletic or speedy than what he was. I think that this goes back to this may be a bad, kind of a retroactive bad. Not getting reps in the preseason for this team is not working for the starting 22. It didn't work last year in week one. It didn't work this year in week one. Derrick Henry needed some reps because those first few reps that a player takes in a live game action getting tackled, that takes a lot of mental. There's a lot of mental to that, right?
Yeah.
And he obviously wasn't that comfortable running behind either of the sides. It took a little bit for him to get comfortable.
Yeah.
Again, that's stuff you should be hammering out. Hell, he wasn't even allowed to practice. We'll put it at that.
Yeah, I mean, he really wasn't.
Yeah.
By the way, I got to add pass rush to the good.
Yeah, no, pass rush was very good, by the
killer.
way. I mean, I
Rashad Weaver's on pace to have 22 more sacks than Harold Landry. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Pass rush.
No context
great.
needed.
Harold Landry, I don't think was missed as much in the pass rush as he was in the run game.
We're going to get to Harold Landry and where I think they missed him.
But all their runs that were successful were over to the left side where Harold Landry does not play.
I just saw the whole entire run game felt a beat off, felt a beat slow. Some of that looked like Derrick. Some of that looked like the offensive line.
The offensive line, I thought, did not look very put together on their run blocks as much as they usually are. I thought Taylor Lewan was probably the worst offensive lineman, maybe Ben Jones and Aaron Brewer, but that whole Ben Jones to Taylor Lewan was nowhere near as good as Nate Davis and NPF, which is surprising.
And all the penalties on first down holding or false starts were Brewer and Lewan.
It's wild. If you would have told me that was the problem child of week one, I would have just laughed in your face.
All right. So I just want to get your.
I'm not concerned about Derrick Henry.
I'm not either.
Get me to October to ask me if we're concerned, or maybe even the next 2 weeks. I don't know. Buffalo looked pretty good against Cam Akers, but they let big runs against Darrell Henderson. Give me a few weeks before I push the panic alarm really on anything.
Okay, no, I totally agree. Week one, we'll get to sort of lie detector. The bad here, and again, this isn't the ugly, which is going to be like Todd Downing in a second. So just Christian Fulton needs to be better. There's no question about that.
He was the top-rated run defender, and I thought that there was a lot of runs where he.
No, he's the one who missed. He's the one who missed on Barkley's long run down the sideline, the 68-yarder that got the whole second.
But also, Zach Cunningham got washed away, but Dupree got washed away out of position. Christian Fulton and Amani Hooker should have never been in the position they were on that specific play, but they were. And I think you got to. That's why I don't understand PFF grades.
So I think they're important to keep in mind.
Red glove Christian Fulton is better than white glove Christian Fulton. That is what we learned. That is science.
Science.
Red glove Christian Fulton is better than white glove Christian Fulton. You heard it here first.
By the way, the good here are the burgers and the fries and the beers.
It's driving me nuts. The smell of this burger.
I think there's what's on there? Jalapeno
burger, right?
The Chipotle burger. Oh my God, it looks good. So we are, of course, here live at the Pharmacy Burger, Parlor, and Beer Garden.
Yes.
Every Monday, 1 p.m. Come on out, have lunch. You can get here.
There's all kinds of seats here.
Well, you can
come behind the camera.
Bring your kids.
There's not a lot of seats back here available.
Yeah, this is all packed back here. Baby. Look at this Beer Garden. They got a soda parlor inside.
So I keep saying I want an audience here live.
We know that Zach wants an audience. So that's the good. And of course, the Pharmacy here. Our live shows every single Monday. I want to talk Michael Cole real fast. Dylan Cole. Michael Pruitt.
Michael Cole is an announcer for WWE.
I have no
He
idea what
watches
that.
wrestling.
Yeah, I don't actually
Don't
watch
listen
it.
to him. I feel it now.
Damn it, my secret's out. All right, Dylan Cole. Here's the problem with Dylan Cole, and I noticed one of your tweets about this. Like, why is he in the game instead of David Long? The 3 plays I'm about to mention, David Long was in the game on all 3 of them. The 4th down bootleg by Daniel Jones. They're all in the same drive within 5 plays of each other. Dylan Cole is the outside edge rusher, and he crashes down hard, and he would have been contained on Daniel Jones getting outside. It eventually was Danico Autry who chased him down and knocked him out, I think. So that's number 1. Number 2, the play action pass on the goal line that scores the touchdown. Dylan Cole rushes inside bites on the fake, tight end drops out into the flats. Number 3, Saquon Barkley 2-point conversion. Dylan Cole is on the end of the line, stood up in a 2-point stance, is in position to make the play actually, and misses the play, actually gets a face mask on Barkley technically. The problem with all 3 of those plays, he was lined up where Harold Landry would be lined up. He was in a stand-up outside linebacker position. Now, maybe not exactly the spot that Harold Landry would be, but Adeniji was out at that time with the shoulder, who's now questionable. Adeniji might have been in those situations as well. All 3 of those plays you could put on Dylan Cole. And David Long was on the field for all 3 of them inside, playing on the inside. So that having a player in those 3 critical spots in a position where he's supposed to make a play and doesn't, I'm not suggesting that he should have won the game for them. But those 3 plays by Dylan Cole, all of which I think Harold Landry makes, or even Ola Adeniji makes.
Well, I don't understand that. Why does it go in the red zone package? Harold Landry, Ola Adeniji, possibly, and Dylan Cole.
Right,
because we've seen this team put Nick DeZubnar in those positions, in the same exact positions, and he sucks too. So, out of all the players that you have, why Dylan Cole?
I think because what Landry brings you in those situations is the speed to get back out, right, or to drop into coverage. And again,
Dylan Cole does not have that speed.
No, he doesn't. I think he just misplayed each of them. He bit on the 2 fakes, and give credit to Daniel Jones and Dayball. They used his legs when they needed to at the right time. They used the play action fake because eventually the Titans had to crash into the box to stop the run because they couldn't do that either to start most of the game. So again, I'm not trying to like rip the guy into shreds here or whatever, but the guy was in on the 3 of the most critical plays on defense, and all 3 of them.
And he only played 5 defensive snaps, which is even worse.
Those
and
3
of them were bad.
Yeah, those are pretty bad.
That to me screams this team didn't really think through the red zone package, which I don't feel like I say often that this team didn't think through something, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But
that's maybe where Adeniji. If he's healthy, he's out there.
Why is Rashad Weaver not out there?
Well, I think Weaver was lined up.
Okay, so Danico Autry
had his hand in the dirt.
Okay, so DeMarcus Walker. I mean, eventually we're going to run into like 33 players that should have been in there before Dylan Cole.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
Here's my question: is why isn't it a guy like Amani Hooker?
Yeah.
I
was going to get into those guys next.
Roll him onto the outside linebacker situation and play small ball, if you will. I don't know. It's a tough. Listen, Dayball's a really good play caller. He's a really good play caller.
And let me say
that. Let's be honest about
the play action pass to Myrick or whatever, the tight end, where also not only does Dylan Cole really bite, Kevin Byard and Caleb Farley really bite because they all bit because it's the same play in the same formation they called the play earlier, and now they made a variation where it's play action pass.
Yep.
But Dylan Cole also prevented Kevin Byard from doing any kind of recovery too, because he stood in the way of essentially he tripped up Kevin Byard as well. So to me, it's like it goes to sloppiness and people. And let me say this about Dylan Cole: he didn't play a lot in the preseason because he was in and out of practices and everything throughout the whole thing. That's not, to me. It goes back to I can point to Nick DeZubnar. Again,
I just like hearing you say his name.
Yeah, he is atrocious in the red zone. He allowed every time he played, they allowed a point. I mean, a touchdown, 2-point conversion.
He was a 1 point per play kind of guy.
He was so bad, and it's specifically in the red zone. But it goes down to targeting Khalif Raymond in the Ravens game, targeting NWI in the Bengals game. Critical moments. This team thinks that any guy, the next man up mentality works. And at this point, they've proven enough that the next man mentality is magic.
It's pretty good normally.
But it doesn't work in critical moments. So your best players should always be on the field in critical moments. And this was not the best configuration of players despite the Oladeney injury.
And I have a feeling you're going to repeat that sentence literally
I'll be repeating it all day.
when we talk about third down on offense. George says sometimes I feel like this team is too experimental in week one. I don't know if I agree with experimental.
Because stuff that you told me off air about
maybe
what
too
they
trustworthy.
do in practice.
How about that?
Yeah, I think too trustworthy. Stuff they said that you said they were practicing off field that you couldn't really tell the masses, right? And you did put some stuff out there that you were allowed to. But we've had conversations.
Yeah.
And we kept it off there. I saw a lot of that stuff be used in the game. So they practice, and let me say something. They practice plays, and if you want to get into Chigokonkwo and that, whatever, the end around, they practice plays. Under Vrabel, this team practices weird plays every week based on looks they think they get from the defense, and they'll enact those plays. And so far, the three off the top of my head have all failed miserably.
Well, so it's interesting you bring that up because we're going to talk about it. They practiced the end game situation specifically, as Vrabel said on Monday. We wanted the ball on this hash. We practiced it. We calmly walk up to the line of scrimmage. We spike it. I think my initial thoughts when watching this, and I think most of the fans in the building were like, what are we doing here? But they executed exactly what they think now.
A horrible play, by the way.
The problem,
they lost 3 fucking yards on.
The problem wasn't that play, and it wasn't that decision. The problem was the delay of game costing the timeout, which means they could not run a play.
There wasn't a delay of game. They had it snapped before,
I know.
Before the thing.
They called the timeout. But Tannehill was rushing. He didn't want the 5 yards.
He wasn't even rushing. He was so calm. I watched it.
Okay.
He was not rushing.
If the Titans were with the timeout and 18 seconds to go, you run a play to gain yards.
This is an ugly for me.
But this is the thing. You can call it ugly and you may not like it. But to your point about how they practiced it, how they executed the end of that was exactly how they practiced it. He missed a 47-yard field goal that he makes 7 out of 10
times. So they practiced to lose 3 yards on play.
They practiced to get it over to the hash, and that horizontally was more important than vertically by a couple of yards.
3 yards.
And it was about 2 or 3 yards.
3 yards, I counted. I paused it and counted.
Well, they gave him a good spot because the weird Tannehill stop. Like, Tannehill didn't even go to the ground. It felt weirder.
It was not executed. Whatever they practiced, to me, that should not be the play you be practicing.
Well, they
practice a different play other than the guy that goes –
they walked right up to the line of scrimmage, calmly snapped the ball, spiked it with exactly the time they planned to spike. The whole thing was planned. The problem is they should have been 5 yards closer. They should have had the timeout and run a play at 18 seconds and done the whole thing sooner. They just didn't.
They still could have ran plays at 18 seconds. That's why I don't understand the whole thing. That thing to me isn't ugly. I hate that sequence of events.
It's what he wanted to do, though.
Yeah. Well, he's wrong.
Well.
Okay. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Just because that's what he wanted to do doesn't make it right or correct or smart.
Make the kick.
And to me, well, I agree. But hey, you know what? People were saying, "Oh, I miss Ryan Suckup," and I saw someone say something about Ryan Suckup, and immediately he misses a 36-yarder.
Kicking was a big problem in college and pro football all weekend long.
Yeah,
there's no question.
There is no 100%. Unless you're Justin Tucker, there is no kicker that's 100% going to make every kick every time. And I get it. You make the kick. They didn't do him fucking any justice. Losing 3 yards.
No, it is that I agree with that, but it is where he wanted the ball. He rather would have it 3 yards back than on the right than it was where it was. That's up to Randy Bullock. Can you not do 3 yards up, or can you not do the same yardage? I mean, why are we doing 3 yards back? I don't disagree with you, Zach, but they didn't lose the game because of the 2.5 or 3 yards. That's not why they lost the game.
That's part of it.
The kick was way wide. It wasn't even close.
My thing is that first off,
he almost shanked it.
Here's the whole sequence is why they lost. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to get at is that first off. The Giants called the timeout. You had time to get a playoff. They're about to get the playoff. Vrabel calls timeout. Dumb on their part, by the way, I think.
That's the part I don't agree with. That's the part I don't agree with.
Okay? You come back, and then you're going to run the play to be a 3-yard loss because that's essentially what you're doing. You're saying, okay, we're going to lose 3 yards to get the hash. And maybe that's not their intent, but that's exactly what's going to happen.
More like a half a yard.
But you have 18 seconds, and you've been moving the ball down the field through the air with Kyle Phillips, who's been getting out of bounds. So that's number 2 of why they lost.
That is.
And they lost the whole game because they couldn't keep their throat on the whole game, and that showed up.
Well, that's true.
In that last 18 seconds where they decided to play coward ball.
Okay, now that I've got your energy levels are up here again, let's get to the third downs because I want to read through this first. Don't say anything. Okay. Don't say that. So I went back and rewatched and tracked all 5 third down attempts on offense in the second half. Here's what they were. 3rd and 1. This is the first drive after the second half. 3rd and 1. Derrick Henry
taking your pick.
3rd and 1, Derrick Henry drops the Wildcat snap. The blocking wasn't great. Poor execution. Don't really have a problem with the play call. Third and 2 on the next. Hang on. 3rd and 2 on the next drive. They hit Dontrell Hilliard in the flats with a well-executed play. Dontrell Hilliard drops the ball. Again, play call would have worked if the receiver caught the pass. We can discuss whether or not you want Hilliard making that catch or not, but the dude made 2 touchdowns.
I want him to catch.
I'm okay. He should have caught that. 3rd and 5, they throw to Kyle Phillips down in the red zone, catches a really great pass, gets nailed. They pick up a first down. 3rd and 3, Ryan Tannehill. And this is where I think Ryan Tannehill missed, actually. 3rd and 3, Nick W.I.'s on the left. He runs an out slant, beats his man. Ryan Tannehill is absolutely late on the throw. Absolutely late on the throw. It ends up going into triple coverage.
That was one of my bad throws.
It goes into triple coverage, and everyone in the box is like, why are you throwing into triple coverage? Well, he should have thrown when Nick W.I. is
That's technically correct.
When he was open, because he beat his man on the double move. So you got to throw it. It's got to be there on his chest faster. That's 3rd and 3. So again, poor execution, not necessarily poor play call. Take a little long whiffs on the 3rd and 1 with the jet sweep, which I completely disagree with. So I say all of this to say a lot of player execution problems in those 5 calls, which to your point about being that bad on 3rd and short over the course of an entire game, that is not going to continue every single game. Hilliard's going to make that catch. Ryan's going to make the right read. Henry's not going to drop the snap. Now, that's the good. It's not the good. It's the context.
Yeah. It's the,
now, what do you want to see Todd Downing do on 3rd and short?
Basically, be at home watching the game. I mean, to be honest, that's the only way anything's truly going to get fixed. He is a problematic play caller. We've now had, I guess, 17 games in the regular season, 1 in the playoffs, and now we're on number 18. He's a problematic play caller. There's no salvaging him. And listen, he's calling plays within the confines of the philosophy of the head coach. Because he is not a conservative offensive play caller, because you saw that in Oakland in 2017. He's not a conservative play caller. But his play design on both basically everything, and his feeling for flow of the game and his usage of personnel. Now, I do shift some of the blame to Mike Vrabel on this, because we don't know really.
He has final say as the head coach.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's where I'm at. He has final say. In fact, Teron kind of alluded to it. Although
Cody Hollister did make a big play.
Yeah, Teron Davenport kind of, I don't know if it was just a gap or whatever, but in Monday's press conference with Mike Vrabel, he said, do you find it difficult when you call plays? And then he added on Tim Kelly and Todd Downing, which makes me feel like, I think the best kept secret is that Mike Vrabel's tendencies and fingerprints are all over the offensive philosophy. Right? I mean, we've seen it now through 3 offensive coordinators. They struggle or refuse to keep their foot on the gas when they get a lead. They just don't do it. The difference between Mike Vrabel and Mike Zimmer is that Mike Vrabel is a really good head coach and really good on the defensive side of the ball, disguising, helping, and doing all that, and the players love him.
Well, I was going to say the players love him, and the teaching
matters.
And the development and stuff is what's important. Here's the thing I would say about Todd Downing in general. It's not really all that different, to your point about the fingerprints. The system and the plays themselves are not all that different, and you've already alluded to some of the longer routes that are quick long routes that Tim Kelly has implemented. They're not all that different. But play calling, I believe, is an innate skill. Excuse me. You have to know when and how and where. And I think Brian Daboll has it.
Oh, Brian Daboll's
got it in space. Always had it. That's why Alabama hired him.
I mean, my God, he's got Richie James out there constantly being open because Shane Bowen is doing a soft zone the whole time.
Yeah, right. And the way they use Tony, I just think the play action, I will say the majority of now, I want you to talk about the running and passing on first down, because I know that's a big deal for you. There were a lot of runs that worked on first down. There was a lot of runs that didn't work on first down. On their touchdown drive, the one scoring drive in the second half, they started the drive with a play action pass to Treylon Burks to the sideline for 9 yards. Then they got down the field a little bit, holding penalty on first down, a long run. So the 2 good long runs on first down were brought back by penalties. Then he goes the deep in route to Burks over the middle that picks up 25 or 30 yards. And then there's another throw on first down. So 3 separate times they threw on first down, and that's the drive they scored the touchdown on. So is it getting into 3rd and 2 is good play calling in theory. They didn't execute in that situation. What about first down play calling?
It's more of the same. In fact, it's worse. They averaged 61% run plays last year, and they were 65% or 64%.
Giants were number 1 this week.
Yeah, which I'm not surprised.
Running the ball on first down,
right? I mean, like, shouldn't they be?
But it worked for 240 yards.
Yeah, well, that comes down to defense. But I think that I think they have a problem seeing what's actually working in the game, and I don't know who that is. Who does that fall onto that they are not seeing what is working in the game? Because Todd Downing was on the sidelines, and I want to say that Todd Downing was in the booth last year a lot.
So I'll say this: I don't, in general, like sideline play callers.
Yeah.
In general, because I think when you have,
I would assume Tim Kelly's in the booth.
When you have the booth, there's a lot more tracking of stuff that happens. Yeah. Now I know he's got his chart and he can mark down what he's got, and there's a lot of very good play callers.
A lot of cameras and all that.
And there's a lot of very good play callers on the sideline. I'm not denying that either, but. To your point about, all right, this play worked. Let's make sure we lock that away. Let's go back to it, maybe in a different formation with a different look in a different situation, so it's not anticipated. But let's make sure we're going back to that.
Yeah.
I thought it's to me, it's like I don't really hate the entire game. It's just the mistakes and the sloppiness and the lack of continuity.
I thought here's what I say, because there's a couple of people that responded to me on Twitter when I was talking about stuff, and they said, "Well, the offense just sucks." I don't agree with that.
No, I don't either.
Because I think the players that were executing, for the most part, I'd say 90% of the players on the field, the offensive skill players, looked much better than what they fielded last year at times. I thought that Ryan Tannehill looked comfortable. He looked like a man that looked like 2019, 2020 Ryan Tannehill. There's a lot to take away from this game. I think that there was an over-reliance on guys like Cody Hollister, and I know he made the toe drag swag, but there's no reason that Cody Hollister and Derrick Henry should be your only pass catching weapons on a play.
It's 3rd and 4. There was one that was like 3rd and 4
near the end zone, and there's no way that should be a play call. That should not be in your book at 3rd and 4 in the red zone. That's where I have the issue. And I've been on Todd Downing's ass this whole time, and nothing has changed. How much of that is Todd Downing and how much of that is the philosophy of Mike Vrabel? And I think a lot of it has to do with the offensive philosophy of Mike Vrabel. But I will say this.
His self-belief in his own guys that he's trained.
Yes.
Right?
And I will say
like you love your own children more than everybody else's children.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's a great way to put it. He loves his kids.
My kids are better than your kids.
And I think when you get down to it, I will say this about this offense and Mike Vrabel. I talked about how the run game and the pass game needs to run independently of each other. I felt a shift that the run game didn't matter what they were being successful at in the pass game. Not saying that continues, but I saw signs under Tim Kelly that these routes and everything aren't dictated by. I mean, 37.3% of your dropbacks being a play action is a good sign. That means that regardless that the run offense was not working, the rushing offense was really not working, they stuck to their guns. Because normally last year, when that would happen, when Derrick Henry wasn't going off like crazy and when they didn't have a rushing attack, they would abandon the play action. They
that's true. No, they did a good job of that. I will say this, like, Cody Hollister is not supposed to be on the active roster. He's not.
He should not be getting significant snaps over someone like Treylon Burks.
I will say what I like about this team is the same thing I liked about it all offseason, which is that, and I think Burks and Phillips will grow into these roles. I think Hooper, like, they targeted Woods more than it looks like on paper because he drew a couple of PIs that were important, one on the touchdown drive in the second half. I like the different pieces. I like what they've got. When you have Hooper and Chig and Woods and Burks and Phillips and NWI, like, they have a lot of guys that can do a few different things very well. And I like, even Swaim does what he does okay. He doesn't need to be the primary focus in critical situations. But some of these guys are rookies. Some of these guys are new pieces. 3 of them are rookies.
Just rip the Band-Aid off. Like, why?
Maybe
why
that's
not?
true. Maybe that's true.
You're ripping the Band-Aid off with Roger McCreary, and you're getting rewarded for it. NPF, you're getting rewarded for it. These guys have earned their spot, and Kyle Phillips was rewarded with it, right?
Do you think that it is Kyle Phillips was especially in the
Treylon Burks getting 22 snaps is fucking ridiculous.
Do you think it's more about just Burks not being ready for all the snaps? Do you think it's more about being?
I don't see. You're talking about a guy that was second in separation, in average separation in the NFL, only second to Deebo Samuel. The guy is the playmaker you're wanting, right? You're wanting this playmaker. Everybody's talking about, well, there's no guy that can catch the ball on this team and run it in for yards after catch and all blah blah blah. Treylon Burks is that guy.
Yeah, he will. I think he will.
But when you're only getting 30% of the offense snaps, you can't be that guy.
Yeah, and I guess what my question is I'm curious if there's more to that story. Because Vrabel was more critical of Burks than anybody else.
Listen, are you going to nitpick everything? I mean, not you, but if you're Vrabel, it's like when he said, "Well, Hilliard wasn't in on the things because he was dealing with something," and Hilliard's like, "No, I'm, if you're going to lie, get your
players to lie with you."
Aligned with you."
I
mean, give me a break. I got a lot of issues with this staff, and I'm not in like fired Mike Brady, fired John Robinson mode. Fire Todd Downing for sure.
It's about play calling feel.
Yeah.
It's about personnel utilization, right?
Yeah.
And offensive philosophies. Those are the big three. And those are all very nebulous kind of terms sometimes that are hard to sort of like exactly say what you need. Let's see how it evolves. Let's see how it plays out. To me, it will be very obvious if they need to get rid of Todd Downing. It'll be very obvious.
Here's the thing about this Jeff Slim thing. This will be the thing that we end up
all right.
with, okay? I will be done.
Go to Weiss Liquors. Check out the Kingsley Group, and always come to the pharmacy.
We'll get the college football after this. Swain played the most snaps of any offensive skill player. And he played 25 run block snaps, 5 pass block snaps. So he only did 5. So what's he even in there for if you're only going to do 5 pass block snaps?
To help NPF, frankly. A lot of those were chipping with NPF.
Well, he only did it 5 times. And then he ran 15 routes. 15! And he was targeted on 26% of those routes.
We were joking in the press box.
And 3 of those were from the slot.
I think if you follow my Twitter account during the game, and we were joking in the press box that Swaim was leading the team in targets for the vast majority of the
offense runs through Jeff Swaim, apparently. It doesn't run through Derrick Henry. Doesn't run
Nobody
through
agrees with that. Nobody wants that to happen.
Yeah. My thing is that if you're lining Jeff Swaim up in the slot, why is that not going to Chig Okonkwo or Austin Hooper?
I agree with that part.
Okay.
I agree with that part.
If you know that he's not going to stay in and block, why are you not giving that to Austin Hooper or Chig Okonkwo?
I don't have an answer for you, Zach.
And if you're a shitty blocker, Austin Hooper, I don't care what Mike Vrabel says. Watch the tape. Austin Hooper is a better blocker than Jeff Swaim. Jeff Swaim absolutely sucks. And this is a problem that's not only a Todd Downing issue. This is a Mike Vrabel issue. And this is a John Robinson issue. Hey, I paid this guy $3 million. I'm a dumbass issue.
Wow. What am I supposed to say?
Jeff Swaim is the most hated person.
I think I
hate him more than Rashawn Evans.
I think Jeff Swaim is taking a lot of stray bullets.
I don't think they're straying when you play 45 snaps. You put yourself in the spotlight.
He caught 75% of his targets.
He was for 19 yards.
75% catch rate.
His average depth of target was 1 yard.
I know. And one of them almost got him a first. Listen, I think Jeff Swaim is a totally fine third tight end. Do I wish
they're playing him as tight end? They're playing him like he's Travis Kelce.
This is my issue. Do I want Torrey Carter, Jeff Swaim, and Corey Hollister on the field for 3rd and 4 inside the 15-yard line? That is a different conversation than is Jeff Swaim fine as a third tight end?
On the field at all together.
I agree.
And let me say something. I like Torrey Carter. I think he's got a good thing. He's not playing as well as what he was playing at last year, in my opinion.
He missed a few blocks, I thought.
And Cody Hollister is just the guy. I feel like if you ever put those 3 as your main pass-catching targets with Derrick Henry on the field, that they should really go down there, take your headset away, and take your playbook away on that play.
Okay.
Because that is ridiculous. You look at the Chiefs, you go and look at what the Vikings did under Kevin O'Connell.
Vikings offense is going to be awesome.
They put their throat on their offensive opponents throughout the whole game.
What I tell you about the Vikings offense? I told you that offense is going to be
the Titans had a chance to do that.
They did.
And they did not. And some of it's a little bit on execution, but mainly it is play calling, in my opinion.
Bad defense, run defense, bad explosive play defense, questionable play calling first down and third down, questionable personnel packages, missed field goal, muffed punt, injury to Adeni and Landry causing depth issues at the outside linebacker. You can point to, this is a football game, folks, and a lot of things happen. A lot of things are why you lose. There's also a lot more games to go.
Real quick, lie detector.
Yeah.
Lie detector.
Let's go rapid fire.
Okay, Colts. Do you think that's the Colts we see all year for the most part? A bunch of turnovers, sloppy game. Matt Ryan arm looked dead. Is that truth or lie?
I think that's pretty close to reality.
I do too.
And I think the Texans are going to be better than people think.
Okay. Do you think the Texans are going to win more than 5 games? True or lie?
No, because of the tie.
Gotcha. Oh yeah.
If they would have won yesterday, I would say yes.
No. Trevor Lawrence looked like crap.
Yeah, he did.
Truth or lie?
I'm glad that I told everyone in our draft here at the pharmacy, by the way,
yes,
to take Tua over Trevor.
Yeah. But you've been touting Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence will be much better. That's a lie.
Okay, a lie. I'm going to go with, lastly, Lamar Jackson. Is he going to get franchise tag? Truth or lie?
Man, strange contract stuff with him and the de-escalators
he looked so bad
and all
starting
stuff.
out. It was bad.
I have now some of betting is value, right? Not predictions. But I had the Niners and the Ravens playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Trey Lance, truth or lie?
Yeah, I think that's a lie because of the field.
Yeah.
But obviously he needs to be very much better. I think the Ravens are going to be very good. They're going to win the division.
Yeah, I agree. Joe Burrow. Speaking of the division, real quick, Joe Burrow.
That is
the offensive line was a disaster.
It was, and it was terrible last year, and Joe Burrow still figured it out. The offense for Cincinnati is fascinating because they rely so heavily on big plays. I don't know that. I'm thinking lie, but Pittsburgh also is very good defensively, although TJ Watt is hurt. So I still think it's Baltimore 1 in the division, Cincinnati 2 in the division, with Cincinnati competing, I would have said, with, Broncos, Raiders, Patriots, Colts for maybe that wild card, and the Patriots and the Colts they didn't look particularly good.
Yeah, the Raiders.
I think the Patriots are, but they also fought back and played well against a very, very good Chargers team. We'll find out more about the Broncos on Monday night, but I think the Patriots are that was a bit of a lie. I think in Week 1 they'll be better than that, and I think the Bengals are going to be. I think the Bengals will be okay.
All right,
it's not overreact.
I got a question.
All right, shoot, man. By the way, hang on. Before we go to college football, go to Weiss Liquors, right here. Weiss Liquors over my shoulder here. Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors, have the booze delivered right to your house. If you need to drown your sorrows during Monday Night Football, that's how you do it. If you want to come have a burger at the pharmacy, you come do that. And if you need to fix all those problems you've made at your house over the weekend because you threw a bunch of things, buildkg.com, the Kingston Group, those are your folks. So those are our great sponsors here on a football show. We do appreciate all of them. And again, come out and hang out with us here every single Monday at 1 o'clock right here on a football show from the pharmacy. Okay, college football questions, go.
Does Alabama winning a close and sloppy game make it to where the rest of the college football world is doomed because of Nick Saban is going to be a man on the mission now from Week 3 on? He was already on a mission, but now he's going to whip this team into shape. Does this spell doom for college football?
It could. Or the receiving issues are a question, the discipline issues are a question, and the offensive line issues are a question relative to Alabama. Yeah. I still think they're the number 2 team in America. But here's what I would say. If Alabama plays the way it did on Saturday against Texas, against Georgia, they'll get their ass kicked.
Oh, yeah. When
Full
that
stop.
opening drive,
Full stop.
that opening drive, I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, whoa, that is a weird opening drive for Alabama. It's like one of those things where you're like,
on defense or on offense?
Both, really. I mean,
Sark
really,
is,
the offense.
Sark is brilliant. Sark is brilliant on scripting his first drive, and he did that. He just is.
To me, it was more about the offense. It was like a weird way to come out and do first down. I also thought
it was very much the Iron Bowl from last year,
yeah,
where it was a dead game, and then the guy who's the best player on the field, Bryce Young, had a couple of spectacular drives at the end of the game to win. Whoa, what's happening here? What's happening? Oh my God, Weiss Liquors, the sign is drunk.
That came in like good thing that is.
No, we're good.
On video.
We're good.
It's gonna be on video. So
if you guys want to see what happened, make sure you check out the video.
But I think that that's one of those games where I'm walking away thinking that Nick Saban, after this game, this is going to be a totally different looking like Alabama team that's not going to make the mistakes that it made. Like I feel like Alabama's going to, or Nick Saban's going to put on his like major coaching clinic powwow, and whoever they play next, I feel sorry for you.
Yes, I do. I do, but The 15 penalties, a record for a Nick Saban coach team. Jameer Gibbs missing on blitz pickups, receivers dropping passes.
Oh, Jameer Gibbs, I think he went blind. I think something came down from the heavens and blinded him.
It was the white sign.
It was the white sign.
It was the white sign.
Came flying on the field.
I think that that was the sloppiest game I've ever seen an Alabama team play. Now that takes 100%
away 100% the sloppiest game.
That takes away from the credit that Texas deserved, because that was the fastest, most aggressive defense I've seen from Texas in a long time. If Alabama plays like that the rest of the year, then games at Arkansas, games at Tennessee, and games against Georgia will be way, way, way closer than we think. To your point, I believe that Nick Saban will solve some problems.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It's just it feels like such a Nick Saban. I'm gonna piss in everybody's Cheerio kind of like.
It could.
I'm coming for you and ripping out your throat.
Normally that happens with a loss, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
But see, that's the thing is like normally they would have lost that game, and they didn't. So it's still the same effect now, and it's just gonna be way worse. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be way worse on a sloppy.
It's possible. It's possible. So how many more college football games do we have here? So here we go. SEC East, and I think there's general separation. Because A&M sucks. A&M sucks.
Your team, A&M.
That's my team.
Well, you were touting them all.
Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee. All three have begun, and to a lesser extent on the bottom of this list, Mississippi State, have begun to rise to the top of that second tier. Here's what's cool about this. Tennessee will host Alabama. Arkansas will host Alabama. Kentucky and Mississippi State will host Georgia. So if those are the four best teams in the SEC, not named Alabama and Georgia, so far through 2 weeks, overreacting here, then all four of those teams will host and get a home game with Bama and Georgia at some point during the year, which could create some really interesting drama down the stretch. Really impressed with Kentucky's defense. Very impressed with Tennessee. I think people need to – these are all top 15 teams. Mississippi State, not so much. But Arkansas, KJ Jefferson has been spectacular.
Yeah, he looked really good. He really rebounded from what I saw.
Your take on him on week one is ridiculous. The guy had 4 touchdowns, no turnovers, 80% passing. Like, his numbers are sick. The Arkansas, I would have Arkansas at number 3. I would have Kentucky at number 4, and I would have Tennessee at number 5 in the SEC behind Georgia and Alabama. And Mississippi State at 6. And I think those 4 underneath are starting to separate themselves a little bit from the bottom half, which would be Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss, LSU, whatever. So we're
talking about overreactions and stuff, and I think one of the unique things about overreacting on the Florida-Kentucky game is how many people stayed silent for a week on Anthony Richardson, and then when he sucks, they're like, "Oh, this is the guy. This is the Heisman guy. This is the first-round pick," and blah blah blah. It's on all over Twitter.
Yeah.
It was a rough game. That's where inexperience. That's experience versus inexperience. That's Billy Napier and Anthony Richardson versus Mark Stoops and Will Levis.
Yep.
And it showed.
Yep.
And
Kentucky plus 5.5, baby.
Yeah. And I think that was a good call on your part. And I think that Kentucky showed that, okay, we can win a game against a good opponent. Because I'm not sold that Florida is now suddenly bottom of the barrel, trash.
No,
I'm not saying that you are, but people want to say that.
No, they're like the 7th place team.
Yeah.
In the SEC, they're the middle of the pack.
I think much like Nick Saban, Bill Napier will have this team a little bit back. I think Anthony Richardson will learn. He's learning on the fly. That's what we've all known anyway. And he just looks so good in that Utah game. He just did not look good in this.
Yes, the more impressive side of that, this is sort of like crediting Texas and not as much Alabama. Like
Kentucky deserves all the credit for that.
The way their scheme set up to keep him in the pocket and force him down the field with throws. The way the offensive line got better from week 1 to even first quarter to the second half of that game. They trusted Will Levis to make plays. They certainly was sloppy. They got the pick 6 on the turnover. The defense capitalized. But that's just a really hard Kentucky team to beat.
Yeah.
They're just a very hard
And they did it on the road, which I think is even more impressive. We talked about the swamp field advantage.
The South Carolina hype, we're done with that. I tried to tell you guys, don't buy the South Carolina stuff. Missouri, woof.
Yeah.
And how about them Commodores?
And they looked really good. I'm glad I almost sent you a text when they were looking good.
First half.
They were looking really good that first half.
First quarter Twitter is a dangerous place to live.
I think that I think when you look at it, I think Kentucky is the number 2 team.
I agree right now.
I think that UT has that chance, but UT in the SEC, when you're going up against these teams that's coming up on your schedule in the SEC, and you're letting Pitt do what Pitt's doing to you, it's going to be a rough sledding and they weren't able to keep their tempo up like we talked about.
Which I think is I think they need to learn how to slow it down at times. Now, Pittsburgh had a backup quarterback in. The defense got 16 pressures, 9 hits, 4 sacks. Like, I think the defense played well against Pittsburgh. They knocked Keaton Slovis out of the game. I think that was a sort of intestinal fortitude, prove that you belong kind of moment, because they could have wilted in the second half.
For a youth pastor, like a come to Jesus.
Yes, for youth pastor Josh. I think these are all. I think Tennessee's a top 15 team. I think they're good enough on offense.
Well, we said that they were going to be they should have been top 15 team last week. They should have swapped with Pitt in the rankings.
You got Brew McCoy's turning into a player. You've got Tillman. You've got Hyatt. I think running the football pretty well. That's a pretty good Tennessee team. That's a pretty good Kentucky team. It's a really good Arkansas team. Those are the 3 I'd keep an eye on as they elevate. And the other one, sneaky back in your mind to keep an eye on, Mississippi State. That was a late night win over an Arizona team that's better than people think. So they're starting to see some separation in the SEC, but we have a lot of big games coming up for all these teams, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Like A&M, woof. A&M has Miami.
Spend all that money to lose to Appalachian State.
They have
a bunch of losers.
They paid $1.5 for App State just to come play the game.
And don't forget they paid like $75 million to both their coaches or whatever.
So you now have to play Miami, a top 15 Miami team, and then Arkansas the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, good luck.
So if they win those 2, total narrative change on A&M. If they lose those 2,
can't wait.
A lot of questions about Jimbo Fisher, because Mark Stoops since 2017. How about this? Since 2017, that was the last year of Jimbo at A&M. Jimbo Fisher has 40 wins. Mark Stoops has 42. Mark Stoops has more wins at Kentucky over the last 6 years than Jimbo Fisher has.
I think when you look at it, I think Mark Stoops is a great coach.
He is. And he might be the Nebraska coach.
Yeah, you never know.
All right, there you have it.
Speaking of great coaches,
God.
I am a great fantasy drafter and fantasy coach. 188.88 points. And I would like to say,
don't tell everybody how many points I've got.
I would like to say I beat my guy by over half. My opponent only scored 91.96. Boom or Brut. I would like to also say this. Here's why tight ends should not matter. I had 188.88 points, and my tight end only scored 0.6. Screw tight end positions. They're a shithole of a position.
I had 0 points. I did worse at tight end than you. I had 0.
But I just want to say that I was
come on, dude.
Laughed at for taking Patrick Mahomes, and he was actually my second top scorer because I played Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes was on my bench. I'll be accepting, for everybody in the Football Show League, I'll be accepting trade offers, good trade offers, Joe.
Joe's trying to rip you off already?
Oh, he tried to get me to take before the Thursday game, Cam Akers for Patrick Mahomes.
Nobody cares about our fantasy league. You know that, right?
That's all right. We're ending the show.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers, not good yesterday for me. Explosive punch of karma.
Me in another league.
Explosive punch of karma. No bueno yesterday. I think I scored a third of the amount of points as you did, Zach. And like all my players are
188.88, and that was mostly done by the
defense.
No, it was mostly done before the afternoon games. The majority of those.
Yeah, you can brag this week, buddy.
Oh, it was a decimation.
It was ugly.
It's the most decisive fantasy win I've ever had since playing fantasy football. I mean, that is the best performance by a team. And it was really great general manager right here. And it was easily the worst performance I have ever had in a fantasy league performance in the history of my life. But nobody cares about our fantasy leagues. You know, you should care about burgers at the pharmacy. Weiss Liquors, of course, Uber Eats, search Weiss Liquors. The Kingston Group, BuildKG.com. You know what these 3 companies all have in common? Locally owned and operated here in Nashville. The pharmacy's been here since 2011. So swing on by for lunch, of course, and then every Monday come hang out with us here on a football show live right here on the beautiful Burger, Parlor, and Beer Garden. You got the pharmacy pills, locally sourced by Bearded Iris. And if you need any work done in your home, check out the Kingston Group, BuildKG.com. So I think that's it. Weiss Liquors, Kingston Group. And, of course, the pharmacy. You got Zach Lyons, F-Word Pod. You got Music City Audible. You got Broadway Sports Media. You got all the 440 sports shows as well. Is that it? We're done? I think we're done. For Zach, I'm Braden. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back on Thursday. This has been a football show.